To say that I'm an exaggerator would be an understatement. But you've heard of sparks of AGI. I'm here to tell you that this was like a fire for me as a caveman. Um, it was like lightning on a server. So I recently upgraded to the paid model of OpenAI ChatGPT 4, and 3.5 is the free one. Bing, I've been using for free, which taps into GPT-4, and it's also impressive. But I decided to spend the money and try to get my money's worth, and I was gonna cancel if I didn't see a difference. And okay, I'm gonna try to get right into it. So I'm a coder, but I haven't made any money with coding, and there's certain things that I struggle with or I'm afraid of learning, and it's kind of hard to be a coder when you're teaching yourself because a lot of it is actually Googling. A lot of people taught themselves by Googling and using Stack Overflow, but to have a virtual assistant like this who can break it down for me, um, you'll see I'm going to go over my more difficult questions, but to break it down, the parts that I'm not good at and understand what I'm afraid of and like what I need help with, and what sort of solutions I'm looking for, because it's not good enough if it just spits out, oh, you should do this, and then spits it out. That's not what I wanted. I wanted a high level explanation of things before I got the even code from it. Like I wanted to understand. I don't want to use anything I don't truly understand. So I'm missing like a personal tutor, and I've been thinking for a long time I need a coding tutor, but like that would be really expensive. But this is unbelievably valuable. Um, so anyway, I'm like, what's the difference between you and Bing? And it gives some reasons, and then I'm like, okay, excuse me, I'm having difficulty breathing right now. I'm really excited. I have to do this before my computer dies again. But um, I'm basically like, you know what? It would be great to if I could know how to put you on my website, like to use the API so that if I could build a custom GPT on my website so that people can ask questions to my website and it can respond with the brain of ChatGPT, like the reasoning. And it said it's allowed and doable, and there's just a few things you need to do. And I'm like, okay, I'd like to start this project, but it seems daunting. Like this is a very big, hard project. So let's start off with a warm up. I want to just first let's just start using APIs, and I'd like to do it with my website. Like this is an extremely complicated prompt. What I'm saying here, I'm saying I'd like to do what we just talked about, but I'm afraid. So let's do something easier, and then I give it what I want to do, which is within my existing website, make one page to use APIs, and that's an application programming interface. It just means someone can type the name of a Pokemon onto my website, and then I can return them an image of that Pokemon that I didn't hard code. So I'm basically taking what you're saying and putting it up into the cloud and then bringing down data that matches what you said. So that is something that my website currently can't do. I don't take user input because that requires a back end. And that's one of my limitations as a software engineer is I'm not comfortable putting a back end on my own site because whenever I have used a back end in the past, it's just such a bloated big thing that I lose track of it and I can't really understand how things are happening. So um, I'm looking for an easier way to do that, and I haven't quite found it yet. And So I tell it I'm uncomfortable with this. I can't. I've done it before, but it's cumbersome. Like I basically explain it. I like you know. And when I say vanilla, I mean like vanilla JavaScript, which means like you're actually using JavaScript instead of like some sort of framework. And it says you're on the right track. You can use uh, APIs with a front end only website, so it understands what I want to do and how to do it in a way that I'm comfortable with. And then it gives me the reasons why. Because one of the reasons I'm uncomfortable with it is because I don't understand, well, why is this necessary? Like, because they always say, oh, it's for security, like, oh, to protect like data information. I'm like, I don't care. I just want, you know, for the user to say blue and then everything turns blue. Like, I, security doesn't interest me. Like, if that's my job as a software engineer, is just making sure that you have a password and everything, like that bores me to death. So I don't, that's not a good enough reason to build a back end for me. I need like to really know like what's going on. And anyway, it talks about serverless functions. So that's a way to use user data without like um, building out a whole server framework thing. And I don't fully understand it yet, but I'm beginning to get it. Like that thing that I needed to learn to further my career, um, I've been stuck on, and this is getting me unstuck. Like I did more work learning new skills today with this GPT than I have in a long time. So like probably I don't even want to say how long, but it's giving me all these things I want to hear and that help, like starting small. Um, sensitive data should be handled securely. Blah blah blah. But you can do that with a serverless function. So I don't like I hated my least favorite part of like coding when I built like a Facebook clone was this nightmare of deployment and like you have to like rent this server from Amazon AWS. It's like this whole nightmare that has nothing to do with like anything like it just doesn't, it's not how my brain works. It's not what I want to spend my time doing. I'm trying to design something. So I've been focusing on the front end, but like I want to understand what is the very minimum functionality that I can do with a very small back end, and then I'll leverage that. But I don't understand it well enough to do that. But then it's talking about getting comfortable with it, and I'm like, okay, that's a great answer. Um, I'd like to learn about the serverless functions you brought up, and I even bring up that I'm deploying. At some point, I say I'm deploying my site with Netlify, um, and it's like, oh, we can use the serverless function with Netlify. So it knows all of the it's just crazy. It's literally crazy to me that it can do this. Like I can't believe this is actually happening. I'm basically going to be able to accomplish in 2024 what was beyond my ability before this technology came out. Like this technology it's lowering the bar of the ridiculous amount of self discipline or motivation or persistence that a self taught software engineer would need. And I'm a coding bootcamp grad who had great teachers for a little bit, but a lot of it is self taught, even at the boot camp to a certain extent. Anyway, when you're Googling things, you don't even know what questions to ask really, and you don't know a good answer when you see one. Whereas this process of using an intelligent chatbot is so much more able to answer what I actually want. It's just crazy to me. It's difficult to explain. Um, all right, so then I start making the Pokemon project to use because it starts talking about, well, the open AI, it has the security, so you'll have to do that stuff you don't like with the back end, because we don't let anyone use our ChatGPT, whatever, without it being secure. You need a key or whatever, and that to me is too hard to do all at once. So I'm like, okay, let's use. Is there one, like a Pokemon one, that is public, and it's like, yes, the Poke API is free and doesn't require an API key. It means I can learn that part later. Let's first just learn one thing at a time. So I immediately create the web page, and I don't use these file names. I name it Pokedex, .js, HTML, and CSS, and then it gives me a step by step of what we're gonna do. It spits out the code at that point, um, and I understand this is all code. I understand the way it's doing the form without a form tag and just a button. It's good. I like it. But a question I might ask it in the future is like, what if I want the user to be able to, instead of clicking the button after typing it in, what if they want to just hit enter and have the form submit, or have the button be like on enter, so, and it would probably have a helpful answer for that. But anyway, we get the Pokemon, and this is the part that scares me. It's going away from my website, going to another website. It's creating a variable and going into the document, which is like my HTML code, and it's saying whatever is there, like whatever is in the input that the user is typing, give that, make that the Pokemon name, and then fetch the API, the Pokemon API, with that Pokemon name but lowercase. So this is a function that lowercases it. So if they say Charizard in all caps, it lowercases it so that it always matches. And then it looks on pokeapi.com for Charizard, and then it returns a response. And it puts it in JSON, which is JavaScript object notation. Obviously, this gets really sticky really fast. So this is why it's not intuitive to me, and I don't remember it, or like I don't trust myself with it. And I don't truly understand, because you'll see later on, I decide I don't want to just get one Pokemon, I want to get 6. I want to show the user more than one Pokemon at a time, um, so that they can form a team of 6 and it can show pictures of all 6. So then I would have to go back into this function and edit it. And if you don't understand it, if this doesn't make sense to you and you're just using what ChatGPT gives you, you wouldn't know where to put the new code that would say, with this data, run another function that display or that stores it in a list of recent Pokemon. Although even if you don't understand that, you could always ask it to explain, which I kind of do later, but it helps to understand. Like, I think my approach of wanting to actually get it is helpful ultimately, but we'll see if I end up successful or not. But so this is the one of the craziest parts. Then I put it, so I put its code into my project, and then I run a live server so I can mess with it, and I type in Mew, hit find Pokemon, and Mew comes up, and the picture of Mew that is not stored. Every other picture on my website, on the whole thing, is stored inside of my folder, on my hard drive, like on my computer and on my GitHub. Maybe some pictures are from a website, but the idea of someone, like, there are Pokemon that I don't even know exist, like Gen 4 and up or whatever, that people could type in and it will give you a picture that I don't know exists, but it's coded by me. So that's the magic of like APIs. But anyway, I sent it this picture, okay? And this picture has watch The Office up there because I was watching an episode of The Office. So that, I mean, it's able to read this part and ignore that part and realize what we're talking about. And I even explain, I used your code. I have an image, and I have an image showing what happens when I used your code and typed the Pokemon name. I'm wondering if you can tell, and this is the one mistake it made, but I'll explain how it's not even that big of a mistake. Overall, it's like 99%. It even on this one mistake, it's 99% correct. I'm like, I'm wondering if you can tell just by looking at this if your code worked or not when or if I implemented it correctly. And it says based on your screenshot, it appears you're using the API to retrieve the Pokemon information. Um, it knows I'm doing it for Mew, and it says this is the error. It says there's a text input labeled Mew. Really, it's not. Really, it's labeled, insert Pokemon here. And I just already typed Mew there. So if I'm nitpicking, that's not exactly correct. But it does have a value of Mew. And anyway, your next steps would be using the netlify function. And then I'm like, well, wait a second. This already works. So why, like you can already, on my website right now, you can go to maxjan.com/Pokedex and you can type any Pokemon and it will show you a picture of it and the name of it. So what do I need to do? The stuff I don't like to do, why do I have to do that if this is already working? And it's like, you're right. You don't need it, but it becomes important when you're dealing with the following scenarios: security, which I told you I don't care, but this I care. It says like I'll care when I actually have like sensitive information. That's when I'll care, but like right now I don't. Um, on here it said like no one's putting their credit card on my website. You know what I mean? But there here it says some APIs won't let you use them. But if you go through Netlify's function thing, then like OpenAI, for example, could say maxjan.com is making a request to me, denied. But if I go through Netlify, it's like going through a bureaucrat that, gives me the license. So that's a good reason. And then, some other reasons like if you want to do custom logic. And then later I start to think about that. Um, it's just amazing to me that it understands exactly what I'm trying to understand and teaches me. It's insane because this is so hard. Like if you're not a coder, you might be like, what the fuck are you even talking about? And if you are a coder, you might be like, you're stupid. Like this stuff is easy. But if you're like me and you're somewhere in between, I mean, this is insane. Like how useful this is. So anyway, I have to speed this up because I have work at 5. Um, I'm like, okay, I think I get it. I can only do one Pokemon at a time right now, but I want to do 6. So then this is another really complicated question. I'm like, so I want to do 6. So it's more fun. And then eventually I'd like to use ChatGPT to summarize the 6 Pokemon and maybe tell you like if it's all 6 fire Pokemon, maybe make a comment like if you run into a water guy, you might have trouble, like or it'll say, "Oh, you're well balanced if you have like a lightning, a water, and a like I could make ChatGPT take the Pokemon and write a story about it, a summary." And I'm like, so if I'm starting to do that complicated of a thing, at that point, do I need to do the thing I don't want to do, or can I keep doing what I want to do? And with the front side only code, and it's like you can do it entirely on the client side, which means front end, without the need for serverless functions. you can use the local storage, blah, blah, blah. Now, I will say my app is misfiring right now. It's storing more than 6 Pokemon. I just tested it. So it was working earlier, but when I actually deployed it and tested it out, um, right now it seems to be storing more than 6 instead of just stopping at 6. So something went wrong. So maybe it's the AIs and maybe it's me, but I'm still incredibly impressed by at least the concept of what it was trying to do. Um, but basically, it tells me how to do it without the serverless functions, and then it's like, if you want to use ChatGPT to summarize the team's strength, that's when you need to use the serverless function. Um, However, once you integrate ChatGPT, then you need to. It becomes essential. So now I totally get at what point I need to learn the thing I don't know, which is the scariest part, right? Um, to answer your question directly, it would be beneficial to. It even tells me go ahead and keep going with what you're comfortable with, and then we'll do that part later. And so I say, okay, I'm gonna do it. Um, and then I'm like, I don't really get how the parameter of the function gets the data because when I tried when I tried doing it, it didn't work. Even though I was close, it stopped showing the Pokemon at all when I tried to do 6 of them. So I my idea was go back and enter the original function to add a new Pokemon. I think it shows the code here. Yeah. So the first code it spits out is to get the Pokemon from the API. But then we keep talking and it starts to show me, okay, well, this is how, once you're getting the Pokemon, you need to add it to a team. So it creates a team, which is an array, like a list of objects. And then this is the part that's either beautiful or stupid because I don't understand it and it didn't quite work, but I get what it's trying to do and maybe it is good code. It uses unshift, which is basically like, and it's also saying get the current team or create a new one if it doesn't exist, which is a very elegant way of coding because it's basically, I think that might be what's misfiring, but it's just it wouldn't have never even occurred to me to do that. Um, yeah, so it basically when you type in your first Pokemon, it checks if you already have a team, and if not, it creates one. Then it adds that Pokemon to the team by using unshift, which is shift is like going the other way. Unshift is like adding it to the first slot of the 6. And then pop is when you pop off the 6th one when you make a 7th. So the the 1 6 ago goes off your team. So you know later we talk about customizing it so the user can pick which Pokemon gets dropped off. But for the simplicity's sake, I'm like, let's just store the most recent 6 and see if I can do that. So and then it has another function saying display the team. So once we've added we get the Pokemon, we add it to the team, and then we display the team. Makes sense, right? But then I'm like, okay, I tried doing all that and it doesn't work. What did I do wrong? I thought that the first function um, that we do to get the Pokemon, that's when I need to also call the other function that adds it to the team. Because the moment I get the Pokemon and I have it, is the moment that they typed in Pikachu, and then I go to the website, I get Pikachu's info. So at that moment, after they've typed Pikachu, that's when I need to call the other function that adds Pikachu to the user's team in the local storage. So that means I would have to add it before the catch, before the error, because this is basically saying, go to this website and grab whatever they type in. if they type in Pika Blue, which isn't a Pokemon, say Pokemon not found. So that's the catch down here. But if they say Pikachu and it exists, grab it and do stuff with it. And the do stuff with it is where you would add the other function, which is add Pokemon to team. And so I'm like, well, I just, it's not working even though I understand where it should go and what I'm doing. And it explains to me, um, yeah, you're right. The original function, um, the original function get Pokemon, we need to put this new function in there. And so then I'm thinking, okay, so exactly what I did is what the machine says to do. Therefore, where is the problem? Um, and that was enough. That was enough for me to realize, okay, my mistake isn't there. It must be somewhere else. So then I went back and I looked at the way I'm displaying the Pokemon. This code, the ChatGPT did not write. It just commented saying use the team array to display the Pokemon. So I have to write a for loop here saying for each Pokemon in the team so far, display those Pokemon, right? So then I do that. I take a screenshot of my app working with the 6 Pokemon and I send it to ChatGPT and I say, what do you think? That is so vague. Like, I just say, what do you think? And I send a picture of my computer and it literally understands exactly what it's looking at. Like, do you understand how monumental that is? That you can be talking to your computer about what's on your screen and it can intelligently, super intelligently, essentially, like, um it's like Andy Roddick looking at your serve and giving you pointers, like right in front of your face, and he's literally watching you swing. Like, it's just crazy to me. And one thing I want to mention is maybe I'm judging like a chess engine by playing chess, and that's like obviously I'm gonna be more impressed, um, because I'm judging it on coding, and it's obviously good at coding because coders made it, and they made it good at coding. It might have some weaknesses, but anyway, it says your project is working now, um, and then it says it's well organized because I did my own CSS code because I'm a good enough coder to I can do my own for loop and my own CSS, and it's very rudimentary just to show that it's working. Like the colors are red and blue and gray, and then I say it gives this great advice where it says the next steps could include removal of a specific Pokemon, like if I could click and drag him over here, or say release Flygon. Like, let's say I want to type in a name and Electabuzz and I wanted to replace Pikachu. I could add all that functionality and it recognizes that and offers it to me. And then like we were thinking about the same things, and then it's like, well done. And I'm like, okay, I agree that the next step to improve the app would be to, like, we could keep going and I could add functionality to remove the team, blah blah blah. But I say I think I'm ready to learn the thing I don't know, which is the serverless function feature of Netlify while I'm on a roll. um yeah, I have to get going soon, but I just read some documentation on Netlify's site about it, and they're telling me to run these commands in the terminal that I don't feel comfortable with, and they seem to be the same thing. What is the difference between these two commands? It explains it perfectly in a way that I never truly understood. Like, I guess I did, but it's just man, it's just like a coach. It's like like, you know how to dribble, but like if someone reminds you, yeah, keep it low, make sure you take that dribble before your move or whatever. I don't know. It's just you know, it's it gives me the confidence that, okay, I can do this command. Like, it's taking the emotion and the fear out of learning, like, because you always have this it's like a great teacher takes the fear out of learning. Like, if you're struggling with a new math concept and you have a great math teacher, they kind of make it uh, easy by, you know, increasing your confidence in what you already know, so you're more capable of attempting to learn what you do not know, which is the scary part. And so it tells me the difference between the global and local, which again I knew, but I didn't know like in my soul. Like, I didn't truly know like what directory I should be in. Like, it's tricky. And then I also expressed my concern of, I don't really want to be running these global installations and local installations of npm, because I don't really know what node package manager is really doing. I don't know how heavy this is, and my website is so perfect with the way that I understand it. Last thing I want to do is add a bunch of crap, and it says no, like, it's perfectly normal and it's not going to affect anything. Just go for it. And I'm like, okay, I did both. You've been great. And then I start expressing concerns about my hardware and software, because I'm like, I need this thing to know that I'm on a computer that's at the edge of its lifespan. And so if I'm trying to do like a cutting edge AI project, what kind of hurdles can I expect? Like, what kind of obstacles? And it literally is like, um, and I'm also like, I don't really want to go any further. Like, I'm kind of exhausted, but give me a little appetizer, so when I come back later with energy, I can do it. And it's like, okay, here's what you're gonna be doing later. As about your computer, you know, you're fine with what you have, but the storage is a concern. The fact that you can't update because you're out of storage is an issue, and it's a limiting factor, and it's just a good fucking answer. Sorry to swear. And then it says, like, I've basically told this thing everything I would tell like a professional coding coach, and it's giving me these excellent answers. And then so I'm like, okay, well, the thing with my storage is, most of it's system data. Like, I don't trust these other apps, and it gives me a list of things I can do for free that are trustworthy. I haven't implemented them yet, and I haven't truly learned the part that I don't know yet. But I'm just closer. It's like that fear of like, I don't want to do that because I'm afraid of it. It's just that part's gone, and now it's really just investing time. But it's like, okay, I'm like, I'm gonna go outside and then I'll come back, and I'm interested. Are you gonna remember what we just talked about? And it's like, yeah, blah blah blah. And then I even went and kind of came back, and then I was able to click on this conversation and start typing. And it's like, welcome back, and it summarized everything, and then I could keep talking if I wanted to. So I'm for sure gonna keep, this going, and do the best projects. I want to make that ultimate. I want to experiment with custom GPTs and everything. Um, and just the fact that it's hard to explain. The fact that I can tell it, I'm not ready for this. Can you give me baby steps? And it's giving me the baby steps, and it never once misunderstood me. Like, I don't know, man. It's like the thing I've been waiting for, like the thing I've been missing. It felt like meeting a new person, a super knowledgeable person. It felt like, imagine it, and I was thinking, why is it so human? Well, it's based on human training data. So, what is it exactly that you're talking to? To me, it feels like you're asking humanity a question. So, it feels like, let's say you're an alien and you want to, or maybe you're a human, but you're away from humanity. You're on a spaceship and you're flying around, but you can ask all of humanity a question, and all of humanity will give an answer. Like the most knowledgeable human in that subject will come out. Like if you're asking about screenplays, dialogue, Aaron Sorkin steps up and speaks on behalf of humanity in that moment. Or if you're asking about chess, Magnus Carlsen comes out and says, actually, I believe the queen should be traded at this moment. Like that is the level of the level of expertise that this thing has. So um, it really feels like, I mean, that's what it is essentially. It's a machine of built on all of humanity's data. On the, I mean, I don't think people understand how insane this is. This is, I mean, millions of people like signed up for 3.5, and I think a lot of them are hesitating to pay for 4. And maybe you're like me and you're knowledgeable and you know you can get it for free with Bing, so why would you upgrade? But this is better. Bing is impressive too. Bing can generate images. I don't know if it can look at an image and talk about it. That might be unique to this. I think that's a really big deal. Truthfully, I've used Bing on my phone, and then this is on the computer, so that's also a difference. But I gotta go. But I highly recommend, if you're a struggling programmer like me, and you struggle with learning things by yourself. It seems too, there's just certain hurdles you can't get over. Um, I highly recommend treating ChatGPT like a personal coding tutor. And I mean, how long before I, man, it's just crazy. Like, yeah, I can't even put into words. So I'll leave it there. I'll make more videos on it in the future. Very satisfied customer already. So God bless America.